to love. By the way, I appreciate you guys subscribing and just watching what I share. And also really appreciate when you visit altalove.com and subscribe over on the website. Everything is building momentum. And also this share specifically is just about the massive changes and the energy shifts that are happening right now, and everyone's gonna have obviously a unique experience and a unique perspective of what's going on. What I'm traversing is like this real heightened kind of intense like retrograde like having to look at every like lifelong distorted pattern, having to really re-look at like every unworthiness vibe, all the like I'm not enough, and every pattern and point in my life where I attacked myself and I didn't like myself and I was in self-disgust and self-loathing. So all those old visions and realities are kind of making their way to the surface, and really it's almost like getting to know that energy really well and basically face the fear of the energy itself so that we can rise above it and let it go completely. On the new phase with the heightened energies, there's just no way that we can move into that new reality while we carry the old energies with us. So this is like the last big shebang of being able to really look at our old self, like our old creation of most of us, we were evolving beyond a lot of those suffering patterns, and that's a glorious thing. It's just the fact that when we're sitting in the old patterns, it can often feel pretty overwhelming, or can feel like, why is this I thought I dealt with this, why is it coming back? And then again, just practicing the default of love. That's really what my book is about. The Fearless Life Guide is shifting our perspective to basically be okay with discomfort and emotional pain, and instead of attacking ourselves for feeling like shit sometimes, start to love ourselves in the feeling and choose to perceive it differently. Choose to perceive pain and suffering in a slightly different way, that we can learn and we can grow and we can expand our perspective, thus ourselves, thus our lives, in a kind of more unifying global way. And that has a lot to do with, again, big changes, with massive energy shifts. We've expanded so fast and so exponentially that, I think the acceleration of the amount of changes that we're going to continue to see is pretty wild. And then at the same time, it's totally paradoxical, because with transformation, you become the eye of the storm. You become that kind of that center point in your own life. And so unless you choose to let it, none of the ensuing kind of chaos and destruction of the world that we perceive around us, none of that can really have a huge impact on you unless you're still totally invested in that reality. And unconsciously, a lot of people are. At the same time, a lot of people are just delaying their awakening, and then as they begin to awaken, there will already be the tribes, the teachers, the healers, whatever systems in place to usher their transformation in a much more grounded and kind of holistic and supported way. That's, for some weird reason, it's like my intuition always knew that the depth of my own suffering was the lessons. The depth of my own suffering was so that I could at some point teach the process to people, teach people about transformation and ascension and personal spiritual growth that we can actually attune to our core and have access to much more powerful manifestation experiences, right? And so really the perspective of our reality transforms too. Nothing is ever fixed, nothing is ever permanent, and yet even in this, people are calling it the bifurcation. Even in this, my God, it's just like it's happening so quickly. Rise and see the opposite. Rise and see the opposite. You know, really looking at those old patterns, almost like they're as bad as ever. That's the thing. You know, we rise in and we're doing good and everything's feeling good, and then suddenly we hit a phase like this, and it's like, wow, you know, I'm as depressed as ever. I am as low as ever. I'm as like, what is this? And that's hence the share of this is the illumination. This is the illumination of all of these eclipses and all of this sort of heightened planetary action is like, are you ready? Are you ready to really live free? Are you ready to really be fearless? Are you ready to really, really drop in and love yourself unconditional no matter what? And I am. I am. And the reason I show up to share is because I know it's my purpose to share that with people and to say, I mean, we all have the power. We all have it within us to change our mind. And attacking one another is not going to help. You know, demonizing one another, blaming one another for how we feel is not going to help anything. Lording our possessions or lording our money over each other, that's not going to help. Lording our attractiveness or whatever, you know, none of that way of being is ultimately going to serve the progression of a positive humanity or a sustainable humanity, at least. And you know, sustainability is just so doable. And if you think about how exponentially we've grown, we can exponentially transform with that same speed and kind of quickness. We can begin to focus on the new world, essentially focus on the creating. And you know, from my point of attraction, that's the point of sharing, is that they're already in place. The grid is the new, people call it the crystalline grid. It's been set for a while now, and people are building their communities. People are building that new paradigm way of life on this planet. And the bifurcation just means that there's two planets basically. So there's like the frequency kind of distance between one perception and another is creating two perceptual realities of what we call Earth. And you know, there's no timeline in truth. That's the thing. Or no, not timeline per se, but there's no deadline. There's no rush. There's no trying to get there, because there's no there. There's only here, where we are. And where we are is ultimately where the power of our perception is. And ultimately, these changes in August are what's really gonna start to tip this scale in our favor, in as far as how we're cooperating and collaborating and working together, and how the masses begin to awaken and find their tribes, naturally gravitate to the people, places, and things that they're desiring or looking for. Where some of us in more guide or teacher roles, we will have to get more and more discerning with the daily activities. And that, you know, there's a challenge going from one way, or it has to be done that way, and basically pioneering your own way, because you come up against every block you might have to that. Somebody saying, well, you can't make money doing that, or that's not, you know, you're not going to be very effective at changing people doing it that way. And yet, you know, your inner guide, you know, when your inner guide is saying, yeah, but that's what I'm being guided to do. And that's something for me, having to accept that I'm being guided to be more withdrawn, you know, meditate a lot more, spend time in solitude a lot more, enjoy company for sure. But sharing through a virtual platform is really the ultimate guidance, and also writing and having that space to really draw from source, you know, draw from that eternal divine connection, because it truly does become like the most and only important thing in your life when you're making a transformation from, like, I guess, fear to love, or from I'm a victim to I'm a powerful creator. When you're making that transition, there's a whole bunch of shit that you just let go of. And then eventually that connection to your source, that connection to your divinity, I call it your star power in the Fearless Life Guide, that connection is all there is in truth. So it becomes easier and easier to not compromise that connection, to not really listen to other people, or to just literally, like, it's the feeling, it's like something's guiding you. And I know, it's like, I know that I'm being guided to do some deeper body work. I looked into this thing called Body Temple Arts with Sophia Tom, and I sort of know her through the AFES crowd. But like exploring my sensuality and my sexuality through my body for myself, right? And that's like old paradigm. A lot of us women had the condition that really everything we did was for a man's attention, because there was such a long generational sort of system of oppression where women had to find a husband in order to survive. Women needed to find a man in order to be provided for, right? Because women weren't really allowed to work. Women weren't allowed to fucking even vote, right? So we've come so far, and then now we're coming into this place of divine sovereignty where neither man or woman needs each other in that sense, although we do, like, we totally all need one another, you know, we need one another to show one another because we're all reflections of each other. But my self-worth and my value isn't dependent on gaining attention and appreciation from a man. So, and that's something where I'm really interested, because I've never really experienced sort of, sexual bliss in that regard. And I know it's not because of my partner. It's truly because of like my ability to connect that profoundly to my own body and to my own self, and then have the courage to unleash it and to really express it. So there you go. I've just gone off on a gorgeous tangent about my own path. But you're going to have some big changes, and I think we should really kind of dig in deep and commit to making these changes a reality, mainly because the energy supports that. So the energy shifts taking place are gonna support those bigger leaps, that sense of really kind of going for what you want, believing in yourself and all of that. So be fearless, go after it, have complete faith in yourself, because you're amazing and powerful and very, very loved. Have a great day, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.